He was not born into money. He was not surrounded by powerful people. He did not start with a brilliant idea that shocked the world. In fact, for most of his early life, he was completely invisible. The kind of person nobody remembers after leaving a room. The kind of name that never appears on any list of future leaders. But one quiet moment changed everything. One evening, sitting alone in a small rented room, he opened his bank app and stared at the number on the screen. It was lower than he expected. Again, his phone vibrated with a message from his landlord reminding him about late rent. And for the first time in his life, he did not feel angry. He did not feel sad. He felt clear. He realized something simple and painful at the same time. Nobody was coming to save him. No opportunity was waiting for the perfect moment. No miracle was hidden around the corner. If his life was going to change, it would change only because he decided to change how he lived every single day. That night, he wrote one sentence in an old notebook. I will become valuable before I become rich. It did not sound like a billionaire's plan. It sounded small, almost weak, but it became the foundation of everything. He stopped chasing shortcuts. He stopped looking for fast money. He started studying what valuable people actually do, how they think, how they learn, how they build skills that solve real problems. After work, when his friends were resting, he was reading. When others were scrolling, he was practicing. When others were complaining about their jobs, he was quietly learning how businesses really operate. He did not quit his job. He did not announce his goals. He built himself in silence. He learned how money moves, how decisions are made, how systems work behind the surface. Months passed, then years. Nothing dramatic happened. No sudden success. No lucky break. But something inside him changed. His confidence no longer depended on motivation. It came from competence. People slowly started to notice that he solved problems faster, that he saw patterns others missed, that he asked better questions. He was offered small opportunities, tiny projects, temporary responsibilities. Most people would have ignored them. He accepted all of them, not for money, for learning, for exposure, for leverage. And while the world still saw him as ordinary, his mind was becoming quietly dangerous. Because he no longer measured his progress by income. He measured it by how many difficult things he could handle without fear.
The real turning point did not come from an idea. It came from frustration. One project failed badly. A partner disappeared. Months of work produced nothing. He lost time, he lost money, but more importantly, he lost trust. And in that moment, something became very clear to him. If he wanted real control over his future, he needed ownership, not position, not titles, ownership. So he stopped waiting to be chosen. He created something small on his own, a simple service. A narrow solution to a boring problem that companies hated dealing with. Nothing impressive, nothing exciting, but it worked. Slowly at first. One client, then another, then referrals. He reinvested everything. He paid himself very little. Not because he wanted to suffer, but because he understood one brutal truth. The early stage of success is not about comfort. It is about survival and expansion. He built systems instead of chasing growth. He automated what could be automated. He documented what others kept in their heads. He hired slowly. He trained deeply. He made mistakes that cost him money. He made decisions that scared him, but he learned faster than he failed. While competitors focused on marketing and attention, he focused on reliability. While others chased trends, he built infrastructure. The company grew without noise. No headlines, no social media presence, no personal brand. Just consistent value delivered quietly. Then something unusual started to happen. Bigger companies noticed. They didn't care about his story. They cared about results. They cared that his system reduced cost, time, and risk. One contract became 5. 5 became 20. He was suddenly managing operations that were larger than anything he had imagined. His income crossed numbers he once thought were impossible. But his lifestyle barely changed. He still lived simply, still worked quietly, still studied aggressively, because he understood something most people never do. Money changes faster than identity. And if your identity cannot handle growth, growth will destroy you. Then came the first acquisition offer. He rejected it, not because it was too small, but because he was not ready to give up control. A year later, another offer arrived. Bigger, strategic, serious. He still said no. He was building something that did not depend on him personally. Something scalable. Something transferable. Something strong enough to survive without his daily involvement. And that is when real wealth began to form. Not in his bank account, in the structure he had built. Years later, when the final deal was signed, nobody outside the industry recognized his name. There were no cameras, no interviews, no celebration parties. Just a quiet meeting room, lawyers, signatures, and a short handshake. The number on the contract was unreal. He had officially crossed into billionaire territory. Not through fame, not through luck, not through viral success, but through quiet discipline, long-term thinking, and uncomfortable patience. That night, he went back to his home, sat alone, and opened the same old notebook he had kept for years. The sentence was still there. I will become valuable before I become rich. Realized that the money was never the real victory. The real victory was the person he had become in the process. Someone who could delay comfort, someone who could stay calm under pressure, someone who could build systems instead of chasing outcomes, someone who could lose without breaking. He understood now why most people never become truly wealthy. Not because they lack ideas, not because they lack talent, but because they cannot tolerate the quiet years, the invisible effort, the slow progress, the lonely discipline, the boring repetition, the uncertainty without applause. His rise looked sudden from the outside, but inside, it had taken years of silent construction. And if there was one lesson hidden behind his story, it was this. Becoming extraordinary does not start with changing your situation. It starts with changing your standards, your patience, your relationship with time, your willingness to build something nobody claps for yet. That is how an ordinary person quietly becomes a billionaire. Not by chasing money, but by becoming someone money eventually follows.